My phone wouldn't stop buzzing during my shift at Morrison's department store. 12 missed calls from my sister Victoria. 8 from Mom. 5 from Dad. When you manage the biggest retail floor in the city, you learn to silence your phone during peak hours. But this felt different. This felt like a storm brewing. "Chloe, you need to take this," my assistant manager Marcus said, holding out the store phone. "Your sister's on line 3. Says it's urgent." I excused myself from helping a customer choose between 2 evening gowns and took the call in my office. The small space smelled like coffee and cardboard, walls covered in sales charts and employee schedules. This was my kingdom. Not impressive to most people, but mine. Finally, Victoria snapped before I could say hello. "I've been trying to reach you for 2 hours. We need to meet. Tonight. The whole family. I work until 9, Vic." "What's this about?" "It's about my future. Our family's future. Just be at Belmont's Bistro at 9:30. Don't be late." She hung up. I stared at the phone, that familiar knot forming in my stomach. The knot that appeared every time my family needed something from me. Which was often. Let me paint you a picture of my family. Dad owns Bennett Hardware, a successful chain of 3 stores across the county. Mom runs Bennett Homestaging, a business that helps people prepare their houses for sale. And Victoria. Victoria is Bennett Properties Development, the golden child who turned one rental property into a portfolio of 12 units by age 28. Then there's me. Chloe Bennett. 30 years old. Retail manager. The disappointment. I've worked at Morrison's since college. Started as a sales associate, worked up to department lead, then floor manager, and now I run the entire women's fashion division. I make decent money. $72,000 a year plus bonuses. I have my own apartment, pay my bills, save a little each month. By most standards, I'm doing fine. By Bennett family standards, I'm barely treading water. The drive to Belmont's Bistro took 20 minutes through evening traffic. I hadn't even gone home to change, still wearing my work clothes, black slacks, cream blouse, name tag still pinned to my collar. I caught my reflection in the restaurant window before going in. Tired eyes, hair pulled back in a practical bun, sensible flats. Next to Victoria, I'd look like the help. They were already seated at the best table. Of course they were. Victoria probably called ahead, dropped hints about a major business deal, ensured they got the prime spot by the window. She sat there in a designer suit that cost more than my monthly rent, her blonde hair perfectly styled, nails immaculate. Mom wore pearls and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Dad looked uncomfortable in his sport coat, the way he always did when Victoria called these business dinners. "There she is," Victoria announced as I approached. "Finally. I came straight from work," I said, sliding into the empty chair. "Some of us don't set our own schedules. Some of us built businesses that allow flexibility," Victoria countered smoothly. "But let's not start with that. We have something important to discuss." A waiter appeared immediately, taking drink orders. Victoria ordered an expensive Chardonnay. I asked for water. Mom gave me that look, the one that said I was being difficult, making things awkward by not participating properly. So, Dad began, clearing his throat. "Your sister has an exciting opportunity." "Here we go," I thought. Victoria leaned forward, her eyes bright with that intensity she got when discussing real estate. "I'm closing on the Parkside Plaza development. 15 commercial units, prime location on 5th and Morrison. It's going to be massive, Chloe. This is the deal that takes Bennett Properties to the next level." "That's great," I said carefully. "Congratulations. There's just one small complication," Mom interjected. "The financing." Victoria waved her hand dismissively. "Not a complication. Just a formality. The bank wants additional collateral for the final loan approval. They want a cosigner with stable employment and good credit." The knot in my stomach pulled tighter. And that's you," Victoria said, smiling. You've been at Morrison's for 9 years. You've got excellent credit. You're perfect. I sat back in my chair, the pieces clicking together. You want me to co-sign a loan? For how much? $350,000, Victoria said casually, as if it were $350. But it's just a formality, Chloe. The bank wants the guarantee, but the property itself is the real collateral. You won't actually be liable for anything. If you won't be liable, why do you need a cosigner? I asked. Dad jumped in, his tone placating. It's just how these things work, honey. Banks are cautious. Your sister's business is strong, but they want to see established employment on the paperwork. It's standard practice. Plus, Mom added, this helps the whole family. When Victoria succeeds, we all benefit. I looked at each of them. Dad, avoiding eye contact. Mom, with that tight smile. Victoria, confident and expectant. They'd already decided this was happening. This dinner wasn't a discussion. It was an announcement. I need to think about it, I said. Victoria's smile faltered. Think about what? I just explained it's a formality. It's $350,000, Vic. That's not something I can just agree to over dinner. It's family, Mom said, her voice sharp. Family helps family. I've helped, I said quietly. I co-signed for Dad's second store expansion. I loaned you $15,000 for that staging furniture, Mom. I gave Victoria $5,000 when she started her business. And we're grateful, Dad said quickly. But this is different. This is a real investment in all our futures. How? I asked. How does this benefit me? Victoria laughed, actually laughed. Seriously? You get to be part of something successful for once. You get to say you helped build something instead of just managing other people's merchandise. The words stung. They were meant to. Victoria, Dad said warningly. What? I'm just being honest. Chloe's been doing the same job for almost a decade. No advancement, no ambition. This is a chance for her to be connected to something that matters. My hands clenched under the table. My job matters. Sure, Victoria said. But let's be real. You're a retail manager. You help people buy clothes. I'm building commercial properties, creating jobs, contributing to the local economy. There's a difference. Victoria, enough, Mom said, but her tone was gentle. Correcting a child who'd spoken an uncomfortable truth. I stood up. My chair scraped loudly against the floor. I need to use the restroom. In the bathroom, I locked myself in a stall and focused on breathing. This was typical. Victoria needed something, so the family mobilized. When I needed help with my student loans years ago, I'd been told to figure it out and be responsible. When Victoria needed $50,000 to buy her first rental property, Dad had handed her a check within a week. I splashed water on my face, fixed my hair, and walked back to the table. They'd ordered appetizers in my absence. Nobody had ordered anything for me. I'm not co-signing the loan, I said, standing beside the table instead of sitting back down. The silence was immediate and heavy. Excuse me? Victoria said slowly. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry, but that's my answer. Dad's face reddened. Chloe, don't be hasty. Let's talk about this reasonably. I am being reasonable. I don't want to be legally responsible for a $350,000 loan for a business venture I have no control over. You don't trust me? Victoria's voice rose. Your own sister. It's not about trust. It absolutely is about trust. Victoria stood now too, her chair pushed back forcefully. I've worked my ass off building my business, and the one time I ask for help, you throw it in my face. That's not fair, I said. I'm not throwing anything. Do you have any idea what I've sacrificed? Victoria continued, her voice getting louder. Other diners were starting to look. The hours I've worked. The risks I've taken. And you, what, stand around a store all day telling people if dresses fit. You can't take one small risk to help your family? Victoria, lower your voice, Mom hissed. No. She needs to hear this. Chloe has always been like this. Selfish. Small-minded. Too scared to do anything meaningful, and now she's sabotaging those of us who actually have ambition. The words hit like slaps. Each one stinging, designed to wound. I'm not sabotaging anyone, I said, my voice shaking. I'm protecting myself financially. From your own family, Dad said quietly. That's what you're saying. You need protection from us. The guilt trip. Right on schedule. I'm leaving, I said. I'm sorry this isn't what you wanted to hear, but it's my decision. I turned to walk away, but Mom's voice stopped me. If you walk out that door without helping your sister, you're making a choice, Chloe. About what kind of family member you are. I looked back at her. At all of them. Victoria, arms crossed, face flushed with anger. Dad, disappointed as always. Mom, with that cold expression she reserved for people who failed to meet her standards. I guess I am making a choice, I said. I'm choosing not to risk my financial future for someone who just called my career meaningless. I left. Behind me, I heard Victoria's angry voice, Mom's sharp response, the scraping of chairs. I didn't look back. I walked to my car, got in, and sat there for 10 minutes, shaking. My phone started ringing before I even left the parking lot. Victoria. I declined the call. It rang again. Dad. Declined. Then Mom. Declined. Text messages started flooding in. Victoria, you're being incredibly selfish. Family means nothing to you. Dad, very disappointed in you tonight. We raised you better than this. Mom, your sister is crying. I hope you're happy with yourself. Victoria again, fine. Don't help. But don't come crying to us when you need something. I drove home in silence, phone buzzing constantly in my purse. By the time I reached my apartment, I had 37 new messages. I turned my phone off and poured myself a glass of wine. The next morning brought a new wave of attacks. I turned my phone on to find 63 messages waiting. Some from family, but now others too. My Aunt Helen had weighed in. My cousin Marcus. Even my grandmother had sent a message, very disappointed to hear about your behavior last night. Family should come first. At work, I couldn't focus. Marcus noticed immediately. Boss, you okay? You look like you haven't slept. Family stuff, I said vaguely. Want to talk about it? I almost said no. Then I found myself telling him everything. The dinner, the loan request, Victoria's insults, the aftermath. He listened without interrupting, which I appreciated. That's rough, he said when I finished. But you made the right call. 350,000? That's insane to ask someone to co-sign. They don't see it that way. They see me as selfish. Because they're not thinking about your perspective. They're only thinking about what they need from you. His words struck something deep. That was it, wasn't it? They only thought about what I could provide. The week that followed was brutal. My family launched a coordinated campaign to change my mind. Dad called my work phone, leaving messages about family loyalty. Mom sent long emails about how Victoria had always looked up to me and how I was breaking her heart. Victoria herself swung between angry texts and tearful voicemails about how I was destroying her dreams. Then they escalated. My cousin Marcus mentioned on social media that some people care more about money than family. Aunt Helen commented, so sad when jealousy tears families apart. They never used my name, but everyone knew who they meant. I stopped checking social media. Stopped answering calls from family numbers. Focused on work, where at least I was appreciated and respected. 2 weeks after the disastrous dinner, Victoria showed up at Morrison's. I was on the floor, helping a customer select jewelry, when I saw her striding through the store like she owned it. We need to talk, she announced, loud enough that customers turned to look. I'm working, I said quietly. I don't care. This is more important. My customer looked uncomfortable. I apologized and excused myself, gesturing for Victoria to follow me to my office. You can't just show up at my workplace, I started, but she cut me off. The bank rejected my loan application. Without a cosigner, they won't approve the full amount. I'm about to lose the biggest deal of my career because my own sister won't help me. Victoria, I'm sorry, but... Sorry? You're sorry? Her voice rose. Do you know what this deal means? This was going to triple my business. This was going to establish me as a major developer in this city. And you're destroying it because what? Because I hurt your feelings. You called my career meaningless. Oh, grow up. I was frustrated. You know I didn't mean it literally, didn't you? I met her eyes. Be honest, Vic. You've always looked down on what I do. You all have. She was quiet for a moment. Then, maybe because you settled. You're smart, Chloe. You could have done anything, and you chose this. She gestured around my small office with disdain. I chose a stable career that I'm good at. You chose safe. You chose easy. And now you won't take even the smallest risk to help someone who's actually trying to build something. $350,000 isn't a small risk. Victoria's face hardened. Fine. Don't help. But understand something, this is permanent. After this, don't expect to be part of family celebrations when my business succeeds. Don't expect us to care about your little retail achievements. You made your choice. She left, slamming my office door hard enough that the sales charts fluttered on the wall. That evening, I sat in my apartment staring at my grandmother's old wooden box. Gran Patricia had passed away 3 years ago, and her lawyer, Edward Morrison, had given me this box with strict instructions: don't open it until you absolutely need what's inside. I'd never understood what that meant. The box sat on my bookshelf, a mystery I'd never solved. But tonight, after Victoria's visit, after 2 weeks of family attacks, something told me it was time. Inside was a thick manila envelope with my name written in Gran's elegant handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. Letters. Documents. And a smaller sealed envelope marked Read First. I opened the smaller envelope, and Gran's voice seemed to speak through her words. My dearest Chloe, if you're reading this, then something has pushed you to finally open this box. Knowing your family, I can guess what happened. They asked you for something, probably something big, and when you said no, they turned on you. Am I right? I need you to know something, sweetheart. You are not the problem. You have never been the problem. I've watched for years as your parents and sister treated you like an ATM instead of a daughter and sister. I've watched them diminish your achievements while celebrating Victoria's. I've watched you shrink yourself, trying to earn love that should have been freely given. So I did something about it. Something they don't know. Something I made sure they couldn't know until the right time. Look at the documents in the envelope, baby. All of them. Then call Edward Morrison at the number on his card. It's time you learned the truth about what you inherited. You deserve so much more than how they treat you. You always have. All my love, Gran Patricia. P.S. Your grandfather and I built our fortune through hard work and smart investments. We wanted to make sure it went to someone who understood the value of both. That's you, sweetheart. Not Victoria with her flash and risk. Not your parents with their judgment. You. My heart pounded as I pulled out the documents. Property deeds. Business registrations. Tax records. I spread them across my coffee table, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. And then I understood. I understood everything. My hands shaking, I called the number on Edward Morrison's business card. He answered on the second ring, despite it being almost 9 p.m. Chloe, he said warmly. I was wondering when you'd call. Your grandmother said it would be when you most needed to remember your worth. Mr. Morrison, these documents. I need to understand what I'm looking at. Then let's meet tomorrow. My office, 10 a.m. Bring the documents. We'll go through everything together. I barely slept that night. I kept looking at the papers, reading and rereading, making sure I understood correctly. By morning, I'd gone through everything 3 times. Edward Morrison's office was in the Riverside Professional Building, all dark wood and leather chairs. He greeted me with a warm handshake and gentle smile. Your grandmother was an extraordinary woman, he said, gesturing for me to sit. She and I worked together for 30 years. She trusted me to keep her secrets until you were ready. These properties, I began, laying the documents on his desk. Are they really yours? Yes. Your grandmother acquired them over 40 years through careful investment and smart business decisions. She set up an LLC in your name when you turned 21. Everything has been professionally managed through Morrison Property Group. The rental income has been going into a trust account, accumulating for the past 9 years. 9 years. Since I started at Morrison's. How much? I whispered. Edward pulled out a detailed financial statement. The properties currently generate approximately $18,000 monthly in rental income after expenses and management fees. Over 9 years, with conservative investments, the trust has accumulated approximately $1.9 million. The room spun. 1.9 million? Yes. Plus the properties themselves are valued at approximately 6.8 million. Combined, your net worth is roughly $8.7 million. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Why didn't she tell me? Because she wanted you to build your own life first. To discover who you were without the burden or advantage of wealth. She said you needed to know your own strength before you inherited hers. He spread the documents across his desk. Let me show you what you own. The list was staggering. Riverside Professional Building, where we sat currently, 10 commercial units. Parkside Shopping Center, 22 retail spaces. Morrison Retail Plaza, 15 commercial units plus anchor spaces. Belmorn Commons, 12 commercial units. 3 residential apartment buildings, 48 total units. 2 vacant lots zoned for commercial development. The Parkside Shopping Center, I said slowly, reading the document again. That's where Victoria's flagship clothing boutique is. Edward nodded. Unit 7A. She's been a tenant for 3 years. And Morrison Retail Plaza, is that where your parents' hardware store operates? Yes. They've been in Unit 12C for 7 years. My mind raced. Do they know who owns these properties? No. Everything has been managed through the LLC and property management company. Your grandmother specifically structured it so her family wouldn't know she was their landlord. And now they don't know you are. Why? Edward leaned back in his chair. Your grandmother was a brilliant businesswoman, but she understood human nature. She knew that if your family discovered she owned these properties, they'd feel entitled to special treatment, reduced rent, exceptions to rules. She wanted her business run professionally, not as family favors. I thought about Victoria's boutique. About my parents' hardware store. What are the lease terms? He pulled out rental agreements. Victoria's lease expires December 31st. So does your parents'. Standard commercial leases, 1-year terms, renewable annually. Several other family businesses are in similar situations. Family businesses? Your Aunt Helen's Bakery in Belmorn Commons. Your cousin Marcus's insurance office in Morrison Plaza. Your grandmother gave them all opportunities with fair market rate leases, professionally managed. None of them know the properties are family owned. I sat there, documents surrounding me, understanding the magnitude of what Gran had done. She hadn't just left me money. She'd left me power. Leverage. Control over the very spaces my family operated from. There's one more thing, Edward said, handing me another document. Parkside Plaza, the development Victoria is trying to finance. Your grandmother purchased the land 6 months before she died. It's been sitting empty, waiting. She left instructions that if you wanted to develop it, the resources were available. Victoria's dream project, I said numbly. The deal that would take her to the next level. It's sitting on my land. Yes. The irony was overwhelming. Victoria had berated me for being small-minded, for lacking ambition, for settling for a retail management job. And all along, I owned the ground beneath her feet. What do I do? I asked. Edward smiled. That's entirely up to you. You can be an absent landlord, let the property management company continue handling everything. You can take an active role, make decisions about renewals and terms. You can develop that vacant land yourself or sell it to another developer. The power is yours. I looked at the documents again. At Victoria's lease. At my parents' lease. At the empire Gran had quietly built and gifted to me. I need to think, I said. Take your time. Nothing requires immediate action. Though I should mention, the leases expiring at the end of December will need decisions within the next 2 months. Renewals, rent adjustments, terms. All standard business. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Victoria is heartbroken. I hope you can live with yourself. I could live with myself just fine, I realized. The question was whether they could live with the truth. That evening, I reviewed every document. Every lease, every property, every financial statement. I learned that Victoria's rent was actually 20% below market rate, a new business courtesy Gran had extended when Victoria first started. My parents paid market rate, but they'd been late on rent 4 times in the past 2 years, accumulating late fees that had been quietly waived. Aunt Helen's bakery lease was month to month and had been for 6 months. She'd never signed the renewal. Cousin Marcus's insurance office had expanded into additional square footage without formally amending his lease or increasing his rent. Gran had been generous with family. Perhaps too generous. I called Edward the next morning. I want to take active ownership, I told him. I want to be involved in decisions. Excellent, he said. Let me arrange a meeting with the property management team. Over the next 2 weeks, I immersed myself in my properties. The property manager, a sharp woman named Diane Torres, walked me through everything. Maintenance schedules, tenant relations, market analyses, vacancy rates. Your grandmother was hands-off but supportive, Diane explained. She trusted us to manage professionally. But she did make some allowances for certain tenants. Family tenants, I said. Yes. Below market rates for some. Waived late fees. Flexible terms. We documented everything, of course, but there was definitely preferential treatment. That ends now, I said. Going forward, everyone pays market rate. Late fees apply. Lease terms are enforced. Diane smiled. It'll be nice to run things by the book. We reviewed each family member's situation. Victoria's boutique, lease expires December 31st. Current rent $4,200 per month, market rate $5,400 per month. Total back late fees waived over 3 years, $2,800. Parents' hardware store, lease expires December 31st. Current rent $6,800 per month, market rate $6,800 per month. Late fees waived, $3,600. Aunt Helen's bakery, month-to-month tenancy, should have renewed months ago. Current rent $2,400 per month, market rate $3,100 per month. Cousin Marcus's office, occupying 400 additional square feet without lease amendment. Paying for 1,000 square feet, using 1,400 square feet. Send renewal notices to everyone, I instructed Diane. Market rates, standard terms, late fees enforced. Professional and by the book. They'll figure out you're the owner when they see the LLC name on the renewal letters, Diane warned. Good, I said. It's time they knew. The renewal letters went out on a Friday. By Saturday morning, my phone was exploding. Victoria called first, her voice shrill. Is this some kind of joke? My rent is going up by $1,200 a month. And they're charging me back late fees from 2 years ago. Market rate adjustments are standard, I said calmly. And late fees are in your lease agreement. Who the hell is Westland Property Holdings LLC? That would be Gran's company. Which is now my company. Silence. Complete, total silence. What? Victoria finally whispered. Gran left me her property portfolio, including Parkside Shopping Center, where your boutique operates. You own my building. I own several buildings. Yes. You. She couldn't seem to form words. You let me beg you for a co-signature while I owned property worth almost $9 million. Yes. I don't believe you. Her voice turned sharp. You're lying. This is some kind of revenge fantasy. Check the renewal letter. My property management company's contact information is at the bottom. Call them. They'll confirm. She hung up. 20 minutes later, Dad called. Chloe, we need to talk. Now. I'm listening. This renewal notice. It says Westland Property Holdings. That was your grandmother's company. Now it's mine. You inherited the properties. It wasn't a question. His voice was flat, shocked. All of them. Yes. The hardware store. You've been my tenant for 7 years. Jesus Christ. I heard him sit down heavily. How long have you known? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. While we were all... He trailed off. While you were all texting me about being selfish. While Victoria was showing up at my work. While Mom was sending emails about how I'm destroying the family. My voice remained calm. Yes. During all of that. Chloe. My lease terms are fair, Dad. Market rate, standard conditions. You can renew or find another location. Your choice. But the rent increase. There is no rent increase for you. You're already at market rate. Victoria gets adjusted because Gran was giving her a discount. You just have to pay on time going forward and cover your accumulated late fees. We can't afford that right now. Then work out a payment plan with the property management company. That's what they're there for. Mom called next, then Victoria again, then Aunt Helen, then a flood of family members. Each call followed the same pattern: shock, disbelief, anger, then attempts at negotiation. Victoria tried to claim I owed her preferential treatment because we were sisters. Mom insisted family loyalty meant keeping Gran's generous terms. Dad suggested we work something out that benefited everyone. I said no to everything. I'm running these properties as businesses, I told each of them. Professional, fair, by the book. Just like Gran intended. The family group chat exploded. Screenshots of renewal letters. Angry messages. Accusations of betrayal. Someone, probably Victoria, created a new chat without me, but Cousin Marcus's wife accidentally added me to it before quickly removing me. I saw enough messages to know they were planning something. Sunday afternoon, they showed up at my apartment. All of them. Mom, Dad, Victoria, Aunt Helen, Uncle George, Cousin Marcus, even my grandmother's sister, Great-Aunt Diane. I opened the door to find them crowded in my hallway. We need to have a family meeting, Mom announced. Now. I almost laughed. You want to have a family meeting at my apartment? Uninvited? This is serious, Dad said. We need to discuss this property situation. There's nothing to discuss. You all received renewal letters with clear terms. Chloe, please. Great-Aunt Diane stepped forward. She was 81, Gran's younger sister, and the family respected her. May we come in? Just to talk. I hesitated, then stepped aside. They filed into my small living room, filling every available seat. Victoria looked around my apartment with barely concealed disdain. This is where you've been living? Gran left you millions, and you're still in a one-bedroom rental? I like my apartment, I said simply. Can we focus? Mom snapped. She turned to me, her face tight. Chloe, this situation with the properties. We need to come to an understanding. What kind of understanding? Family rates, Dad said. Like your grandmother gave us. She understood that family businesses need support. Gran gave you fair leases at reasonable rates, I corrected. Some of you got preferential treatment initially, but that was temporary. The plan was always to move to market rates. Says who? Victoria challenged. Says the business plan Gran left with her lawyer. She documented everything. Victoria's face flushed. I don't care what some ancient business plan says. You can't seriously expect me to pay $1,200 more a month. That'll destroy my profit margins. Then adjust your prices or find a smaller space. You'd force your own sister out of business. I'd expect my sister to run her business profitably without subsidy from me. This is exactly what Patricia worried about, Great-Aunt Diane said softly. Everyone turned to look at her. She told me, years ago, that when she passed, the family would descend on whoever inherited her properties. She said they'd expect special treatment, exceptions, family discounts. She made Chloe promise to wait, to keep the inheritance secret until the right moment. The old woman looked at me with understanding eyes. They forced your hand, didn't they? They pushed you until you had to reveal it. We didn't force anything, Mom protested. We simply asked Chloe for help with a reasonable request. You asked me to risk $350,000, I said quietly. You called me selfish when I said no. Victoria showed up at my workplace and told me I'd never be part of the family again if I didn't help her. I was upset, Victoria said, but her voice had lost its edge. You told me I settled for a meaningless career. That I was small-minded and lacked ambition. You said those things while I was standing on property I own, managing a business I've built, holding wealth you couldn't imagine I had. The room fell silent. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. Everyone will receive fair, professional treatment as tenants. Market rates, standard terms, lease agreements enforced. If you pay on time and follow your lease, we'll have no problems. If you don't, you'll face the same consequences any tenant would face. That's it. Aunt Helen's voice was small. No family consideration. The family consideration is that you're being offered renewals at all. Many landlords are choosing not to renew retail tenants right now. You're getting first right of refusal at competitive rates. And the Parkside Plaza land? Victoria asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The development property? I'd been waiting for this. What about it? You own it. I do. I've been trying to buy it for months. I had no idea it was Gran's. If I'd known, she stopped. If you'd known it was Gran's, you would have expected her to just give it to you, I finished. Or sell it to you below market value. Or include it as some kind of family gift. Victoria didn't deny it. The land is not for sale, I said. Not to you, not to anyone. I'm keeping it. But my development deal. Your development deal is dead, I said bluntly. Even if I wanted to sell to you, you can't get financing without a cosigner. That's why you needed me to cosign in the first place. I could find another cosigner. Could you? I challenged. Because from what I understand, you approached 3 banks and got the same answer. Your debt-to-income ratio is too high. Your business doesn't have enough liquid assets. You need someone with stable income and excellent credit. Someone exactly like me. Victoria's face crumpled. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I'm going to develop that land myself, I announced. I've been reviewing Gran's notes and plans. She had ideas for a mixed-use development. Retail, residential, community spaces. I'm going to make it happen. You don't know anything about property development, Dad said. I'll learn. The same way Victoria learned. The same way Gran learned. And I have one advantage, I already own the land. No financing needed. Mom shook her head slowly. I don't even know who you are anymore. I'm the same person I've always been, I said. I'm just not hiding anymore. Not making myself smaller to make you feel bigger. This is what happens when someone gets money they didn't earn, Uncle George muttered. Goes to their head. Didn't earn? My voice rose for the first time. I've worked since I was 16 years old. I put myself through college while paying rent to live in your basement, Dad. I've climbed every rung at Morrison's through merit and hard work. Gran left me this inheritance because she believed I understood the value of both patience and persistence. That's earning it. Patricia was losing her mind toward the end, Victoria said suddenly. Everyone knows it. This whole thing could be challenged. I smiled, cold and calm. Try it. Gran worked with 3 different doctors and 2 lawyers to ensure her mental competency was thoroughly documented. Edward Morrison has files an inch thick proving she knew exactly what she was doing. Challenge it in court if you want. You'll lose, and you'll rack up legal bills you can't afford. The fight went out of the room. They'd come here expecting to bully me into compliance, to leverage family guilt into special treatment. It wasn't working. I think you should all leave now, I said quietly. They filed out slowly, each face showing different emotions. Shock, anger, disappointment. Victoria was the last to go. She paused at the door. I really needed this, Chloe, she said, tears in her eyes. This deal. It was everything. You needed a cosigner, I corrected. You needed to risk my financial future for your dreams. That's not the same thing. Family is supposed to help each other. You're right. Family is. But help goes both ways. When was the last time any of you helped me? When was the last time you asked about my life, my goals, my dreams? When did you ever treat me like I mattered? She had no answer. After they left, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat by the window, watching the city lights. My phone stayed mercifully silent for once. The family had finally run out of arguments. The next few weeks were tense but professional. Victoria signed her lease renewal at the increased rate. She had no choice, really. Moving her boutique would cost more than the rent increase. Dad and Mom signed theirs too, along with a payment plan for the back late fees. Aunt Helen decided not to renew. She closed her bakery and retired, citing health reasons, though I suspected it was more about pride. I felt a twinge of guilt about that one, but Diane reminded me that business is business. Cousin Marcus tried to negotiate his square footage issue, claiming he'd always had permission to use the extra space. When I asked for documentation, he couldn't provide any. He signed an amended lease for the larger space at the appropriate rate. The real surprise came from Great-Aunt Diane. She called me 2 weeks after the family meeting. I want you to know something, she said. Patricia talked to me about you often. She worried about how they treated you. She saw how hard you worked, how little credit you got. This inheritance wasn't just about money. It was about validation. She wanted you to know your worth. I found myself crying. I miss her. She knew you would honor her legacy properly. And Chloe, she'd be very proud of how you're handling this. I started spending more time on property management. I discovered I had a knack for it. The analytical skills I'd developed in retail, understanding foot traffic, seasonal patterns, customer behavior, translated well to commercial real estate. I could read market trends, identify underutilized spaces, spot opportunities. Marcus at Morrison's noticed the change in me. You seem different lately, he said one afternoon. More confident. Like you're standing taller or something. I guess I finally figured some things out, I said. I also started attending city planning meetings. If I was going to develop the Parkside Plaza land, I needed to understand zoning regulations, community needs, development processes. I met other developers, architects, contractors. I learned the language of the business Victoria thought I could never understand. 3 months after the inheritance revelation, I submitted my development proposal to the city. A mixed-use complex, Ground floor retail with priority given to local small businesses at affordable rates, 2 floors of residential units priced for middle-income families, and a community center with meeting spaces available free to non-profits. It wasn't the flashy, high-end development Victoria had envisioned. It was something better, something the community actually needed. The City Planning Commission loved it. Approval came through in record time. Victoria heard about it, of course. The local business journal ran a story, local retail manager turned property developer breaks ground on community-focused plaza. She showed up at Morrison's the day the article came out. I was on the floor, helping with a seasonal display change, when I saw her walking toward me. She looked thinner, tired. The past few months had clearly been hard on her. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. We went to my office. She sat in the chair across from my desk, hands folded in her lap. "I read the article," she said. "Your development sounds nice." "Thank you. It's nothing like what I would have done." "I know." She was quiet for a moment. "I wanted to apologize for what I said that night at the bistro. About your career being meaningless. That was cruel and untrue." I waited. "I think I was jealous," she continued, the words coming slowly. "You were always so steady. You found something you were good at and you stuck with it. I've been chasing bigger and bigger deals, trying to prove something, and you just existed. Successfully. Without needing validation from anyone." "I needed validation," I said softly. "I just stopped expecting to get it from you all." "The business is struggling," Victoria admitted. "The increased rent, the economy, competition. I'm barely breaking even most months." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Are you though?" She looked at me with genuine curiosity. "Are you sorry? Or are you satisfied that things worked out this way?" I thought about it honestly. "I'm not satisfied that you're struggling. I never wanted that. But I'm satisfied that I finally stood up for myself. That I stopped letting myself be used." "Is that what we did? Use you?" "Yes." She nodded slowly. "I think you're right. I think we did." She stood to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, I think Gran chose right. You're better at this than I would have been. You think about people, not just profit. That development you're planning, it's going to help the community. Mine would have been just another upscale shopping center." After she left, I sat at my desk for a long time. The apology felt genuine, but it also felt incomplete. Years of dismissal and contempt couldn't be erased by one conversation. Maybe they could be the start of rebuilding something, eventually. Or maybe some relationships, once broken, stay broken. The groundbreaking ceremony for the Parkside Community Plaza happened on a crisp October morning. Local officials attended. Small business owners who'd been approved for retail spaces. Future residents who'd qualified for the apartments. News cameras caught it all. My family wasn't there. I'd sent invitations, formal and proper. None of them responded. But Marcus from Morrison's came, and Diane Torres from Property Management, and Edward Morrison who'd helped me navigate everything. Great-aunt Diane attended too, using her walker but determined to be there. "Patricia would have loved this," she told me, squeezing my hand. "She always said you were the one with real vision." Standing there, golden shovel in hand, I thought about Gran's letter. About being told I wasn't the problem, that I was the solution. About deserving more than how they treated me. She'd been right. I'd spent so many years trying to earn my family's approval, shrinking myself to fit their expectations, accepting crumbs of affection while they feasted on my labor and money and compliance. Gran had given me more than property. She'd given me permission to value myself. To demand respect. To walk away from people who diminished me, even if they shared my blood. The development took 14 months to complete. By then, I'd resigned from Morrison's. Not because I didn't love retail anymore, but because I'd discovered I loved creating spaces even more. Creating places where people could build businesses, raise families, gather as communities. I opened my own property management company, specializing in community-focused developments. The Parkside Community Plaza became the model for 3 more projects across the state. Victoria's boutique eventually closed. She sent me a brief email, closing the store next month. Moving in a different direction. Hope you're well. I sent back a simple response. Good luck with whatever comes next. Mom and Dad kept their hardware stores running. We exchanged polite messages on holidays. Surface-level pleasantries that acknowledged our shared history without pretending we were close. That was fine. I'd learned I didn't need their love to have worth. I didn't need their approval to have value. I didn't need their acceptance to build something meaningful. 2 years after that disastrous dinner at Belmont's Bistro, I sat in my new office, a beautiful space in one of my downtown buildings, reviewing plans for another community development. My company employed 15 people. My properties housed 63 businesses and provided homes for 217 families. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Hi Chloe. This is Victoria. I know we haven't talked much, but I wanted you to know I'm starting a consulting business helping small retail owners. Using everything I learned from my mistakes. Anyway, I was wondering if you needed any retail consultants for your developments. No pressure. Just thought I'd offer. Either way, I hope you're doing well. You deserve it. I looked at the message for a long time. Years ago, I would have said yes immediately, desperate for any crumb of connection with my sister. Eager to prove I wasn't holding grudges, that I could be the bigger person. But I'd learned something about being the bigger person. It didn't mean accepting poor treatment. It didn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. It meant having boundaries and enforcing them with kindness but firmness. I typed back, thanks for reaching out. I'll keep your business in mind for future projects. Glad you're doing well. Professional. Polite. Boundaried. She responded almost immediately, I understand. Thank you for considering it. And Chloe, I really am proud of what you've built. Even if I don't say it enough. Or at all. You proved everyone wrong. Including me. I smiled at that. Not the triumphant smile of someone who'd won a battle, but the peaceful smile of someone who'd won something far more important, themselves. Gran had been right all along. I wasn't the problem. I was never the problem. I was the solution. And I'd finally learned to believe it. Subscribe if you believe in stories like this and tell us your city in the comments below.